Now, there is a good thing to talk about in the new M+ affix, but I feel like we should get our Doomer stuff done first.
All right, so where do we go
Socket
next for
upgrades
Doom?
is my personal vote.
Did you just say suck upgrades, or did you just
Socket?
Okay, you said socket fast. I was like, okay.
Time for the upgrade to the suck. You know, get that suck. You know what, Blizz? You keep on doing this, and you know, get the suck.
All right, never mind. Okay, let's continue.
Yeah. So, right. Oh, my God. There's almost 3,000 people watching the stream. That's actually insane. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Oh, jeez.
We're sorry.
So we got to do this because, does this make my raiding experience worse? If I really cared about parses, yes. This is on the correct end of my don't give no fucks in order to protect the bit of WoW that I like.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, this could suck. So, I think we have to take this way back to some like first principles and stuff, or like some foundations before we get into it.
Yep.
So, one of the biggest criticisms of Torghast is that it's not good.
There you go, right? End of stream. See you later, everyone.
We've solved it, boys!
Quick, someone send that to Blizzard in a nice little envelope.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, the big thing is that Torghast isn't good. And we have to ask why it isn't good. And it's because Torghast is kind of nothing. What Torghast could have been was, infinite floors or loads and loads and loads of floors. Yep. And you keep on going until you stop. Based on how well you do, you get a big bag of loot or whatever at the end. Like a roguelite, So it could have been that. And then they could have designed all of the gameplay of Torghast to actually support being a roguelite game. But basically, and this seems to be a bit more rushed, but late in the day on alpha, beta, whatever, they decided to make Torghast be 6 floors long and be something you do for Soul Ash. And from that point onwards, Torghast, I think, is essentially dead and mostly irredeemable until they do anything to Twisting Corridors. The reason why I think that is because you should want to go and do Torghast. Like, I do raiding because I think raiding is cool, and defeating big bosses with my friends with really cool new mechanics is cool. That's why I raid. I don't really raid because of the rewards. I raid for the experience of raiding. And if I was doing Torghast, I would do it for the experience of Torghast, which, by a lot of Blizzard's own positioning of Torghast, should be because it's a super fun, roguelite style of gameplay.
Ideally, of course.
Now, Blizzard obviously did not have enough confidence in their own work to do a Torghast that is roguelite first and really fun. So instead what they did is they made this bizarre, compromised, lobotomized, messed up version of Torghast that's only 6 floors long, where, imagine Binding of Isaac or Hades, but you could only do the first few floors or first few rooms. Yeah. It would be like, what? You wouldn't be able to play a roguelite like a roguelite and enjoy it. So rather than actually make good content, they made bad half-assed content in launch Torghast, and instead of getting people to do it because they really love it, or because it's a fully featured aspect of the game, they threw in the half-baked version of Torghast and then made Soul Ash and Legendaries be the thing for Torghast, which basically means that most people who do Torghast are not doing it because of their love of that type of game mode. Most people who do Torghast are doing it purely as a means to an end, and that means that as soon as you have achieved the end, you no longer care about the means. And that's basically how to train your players to play a game in a way where you as the developer can never really succeed in satisfying them, because you just, how do you keep that progression? How do you keep that feeling more epic? At some point, you've over-justification effect. Yep. And basically, they're just doubling down on that. So Soul Cinders are the new currency that come from the higher layers of Torghast. The new thing from the public test realm is that with Soul Cinders, you will be able to purchase sockets for your gear.
Yes. For your helms, necks, bracers, belts, and rings.
Yeah. So this basically means when you get Soul Ash, or Soul Cinders, do they go into your legendaries or do they go into more sockets? Well, what would give me more exciting gameplay? Putting them into multiple legendaries for multiple different specs or gameplay styles.
Yeah, of course.
What am I encouraged to do by how the game systems actually work? tunnel into the Legos that I need for the progression content that I want to do, and then farm up as many cinders as I can per week to get as many sockets as is possible.
Yeah.
Just that the thing then is the most fun version of this would be if you're building up that library of legendary, so you can take these effects into different, and that would probably involve doing multiple rolls, multiple specs. But of course, as we all know, because Shadowlands is an absolute fucking disaster in terms of design principles, just that stuff that I talked about, you can't really do because fucking covenants. There are some classes where if you want to PvP and PvE, maybe play 2 roles or something, you cannot on your character and feel good about it because of what they've done with the covenants. So it's just that thing of Blizzard don't really. You'd think that the one thing they should know how to do is design a successful endgame, because it's the only thing they've tried to do for years. But it's like they keep on getting, better in some ways, worse in other ways. And this here is just them doubling down on, hey, Torghast. You're not playing that because you care about it, because you're doing unique Torghast things, because you love Torghast. You're just doing it to get power to put into Mythic Plus or rating, because that's all our game is now. Yeah. And we don't have the stones to actually just make Torghast, tell you that it's cool and fun, put it in the game and leave it there. Yeah. Because if you were designing Torghast with that in mind, you would design it differently and it would be way better.
100%, 100%. I don't even know how to follow up on that or where to go from it. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's weird because, as you say in the notes here, it's not like that for the conduit upgrades.
Yeah, it's not like that for the conduit upgrades at the minute, but why is it for sockets and not for conduits when both of them fundamentally serve the same purpose as being things you get this currency for to spend for power upgrades? So what is this intentional? Is it intentional that this doesn't have the rep attached to it? Or was this a mistake that slipped through? Which way is it? I would love to know, because I can imagine both ways, where they go, we'll let people do Torghast for player power that isn't they've got the legendary they care about, they don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because that was largely my experience in 9.0. It was like, right, well, I've got Shock Barrier. This is best for all content. Goodbye, Torghast. I will not see you again because I don't care. And that was that was actually okay. I think it kind of hurt me a little bit, especially because now they're saying, oh, you could have been saving Soul Ash every week this whole time and giving it to all your alts. I'd have loved to have known that at the start of the expansion. Thank you.
Well, that's the thing. They've designed World of Warcraft. It reminds me of some economic principles in a way where if you want a successful economy, then you have got to have it so that the rules of the game are set and don't change that much. Good example, say the corporation tax rate. Here is going up to 25% soon. But imagine a world where the rules of the game changed all the time. It would be so hard to actually do business and stuff like that. And then you would lose confidence. And then you would take your business or whatever elsewhere. Right? So that's the thing about the flip-flopping. So the flip-flopping in those systems, that basically means that you don't have the confidence in the design of the game that it will actually stay, being the way that it is designed at launch. Yeah. Which then means that you don't actually have the confidence you can invest your time in the game because you don't know if the rug's going to be pulled out from under you. And in the case, in a way, of Stygia, and also of what you just said with Soul Ash, the rug's being pulled out under you a little bit. Yeah. Or even the people, doing all their anima work, and then the anima system comes in many months later, costs a whole bunch of anima, and the new stuff that came in before 9.05. Yeah. And again, that's just how can you have confidence in the rules of the game being the rules of the game when change is good, obviously, but when the change is in a good direction, and it often has been. But for me, the point is a few little fixes here and there are grand, but it should not feel, again, paid beta.
Yep, that's it.
That what you just said about Soul Ash can only happen if the game is a paid beta. Because obviously the devs didn't have it thought through by the time that you paid for the game. That means that it is, it is almost definitionally an early access game if we define the point of you accessing a complete feeling game being when the expansion feels complete, which is often the final patch. So I'm happy to say that WoW is generally an early access game more than it should be.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about other early access games I played. Like I actually was playing a little bit of Rogue Legacy 2 last night, and that's an early access game that was bare bones, and every change has been positive since. And that's how it's done. I don't feel that with I never feel like it's gonna go, well, we've reworked this system and now all your progress is gone. I never feel that way. Or you should have been doing this the whole time. Why weren't you? Like, you didn't tell me it wasn't in the game. Whereas it's all of this stuff because it's like because it's like the seasonal thing, and also it's an MMO where your progress kind of carries the whole way through an expansion. It's just it is like you said, the rug's been pulled out. It's like, why are you changing the rules in the middle of the game? Like,
yeah.
Can you please define what I should be doing instead of me having to have a rough guess based on what you say or want to say? Please communicate with me, because
that's the thing. They're some of the worst at communication in the business. Yeah, just in terms of some other things for this, it does mean that if you're a raider and you've got to be optimal, well, you're doing Korthia all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You are doing Torghast all the time because, you can't do what I did in the first patch of this expansion, which was get the Lego you want and leave the whole damn thing behind you. Now, you will feel like you'll want to consistently farm up Soul Cinders in order to have enough currency to get sockets for whenever you get new gear.
Yep.
And then also we've got, that doesn't make me excited as a raider, and what the THD tweet shone a light on there also does not make me as excited as a raider. And that's sad. I think I'll be able to mostly ignore this stuff because heroic raids aren't that hard, really. And, generally speaking, in a heroic raiding setting, your throughput, it can be an issue, but normally it's mechanical execution that's the problem.
Yeah, heroic, remember that heroic used to be called normal, however many years ago. I'm sure they definitely, they have tuned it a bit harder than normal used to be because of the shifting definitions. But it is a case of, it's not, you don't need extremely good gear. You need, heroic gear, or most of heroic gear to clear it. And that just means if you can do your rotation, fine. If everyone in the group can do the rotation, fine, then you're sorted. As opposed to, if I definitely wouldn't be engaging in any extremely high-end content, even if I had the group of people for it, because all of these barriers is I don't want to. I don't want to spend it. I don't want to have to pass an artificial barrier of time spent elsewhere in content that's not very engaging to actually play the engaging content. And I think it does feel pretty cynical that it's trying to force Mythic players into all that other stuff. Yeah, and it just seems to me trying to... It's in my head, in an ideal world, Mythic Plus people are doing Mythic Plus, and doing Mythic Plus should get you almost everything you need to do Mythic Plus. Same goes for raids, same goes for PvP. And all the other stuff in the game is cool shit to do when you're not doing that. Yeah. And then people, so that raises the base of WoW, gives everybody something to do, and if they want to filter into endgame, they can do so. But the way the game is designed now is entirely Mythic Plus raid, PvP, and then reasons for you to go outside of that. Even though Ian also will get on a call with Preach and talk about how some people just level up new alts to do world quests. So it's if the team are aware that there are people in that profile, why do they design the rest of the game the way that they do? All in all, very odd and confusing. And yeah, this whole... look, just do Valor and Justice. Yeah. Make Valor and Justice drop from doing content. Put in a weekly cap if you must, and let us get our various, upgrades or things like, sockets and stuff from that. So that your rating does your things for your rating. And then just, how about we let, Torghast be fun instead of sucking the life out of it by how they've done this? Because it's the thing for me, I guess it's how both of us think. We really think in terms of principles. And for me, it's that they're still doing this shit makes me think that they are in principle fine and think it's good design. And that pulls the wind out of my sails. I don't even want to... I don't even like thinking about it, because there's no way they don't see it. Yeah. There's no way they don't see it. It's in my head, it's they either have to admit that they do a whole bunch of this shit just transparently for player metrics, and it is a case of what gets measured gets managed. Either they do that, Yep.
Or because if they're putting this in for any other reason than shamelessly trying to squeeze more,
Yeah.
then I'm just going to have to say, like, right, if you want to shamelessly squeeze more out of people, fair enough. That is a way to do it.
Yeah.
But if you're telling me that this is how you think the game is ideally designed and this is how it's the most fun, then oh dear, you are taking this game in a dead wrong direction and you are going to suffer for it. They are going to suffer from this shit.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's some, I can't remember what razor it is, but there is a quote that's like, or one of the razors of like thinking and stuff that is something along the lines of never attribute to malice that which you can attribute to stupidity, or I've seen versions with incompetence and whatnot. And it's a case where I would rather attribute this to malice because of its incompetence, and that speaks.
That does speak volumes, doesn't it?
That is definitely worse as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like, this is not the largest thing in the universe, but it just kind of sucks. And it's like, this is obviously not designed for your kind of your average player. This is something that's, I think, obviously targeting the sort of mythic-y people. And it's just that thing in my head where it's like, I almost never see high-end players love shit like this that Blizzard does.
Never.
And it almost never benefits your average Joe and their content. And that's the person who I care about the most.
Yeah, of course.
Of
course, I mean.
So why do they do it?
Malice. I think someone said it's Hanlon's razor. So like, yeah, it's either malice or they're very silly about it all. Because I mean, I'll see if I can think. Because I had a very clear thought in my head for like the difference of what their intent is here. Because it's like I say, it's a small change, but it should allow more freedom. Torghast is an option for getting these instead of farming in Korthia.
Yeah.
So if you're...
But you'll do both.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll do both, of course.
Ideally. They obviously want you to do both. That's how that is, like, even the easiest way. How have they designed the incentives? That is what they want you to do.
Yep. It's a case of, like, if this is the goal, then they're going, right, like, which side of the paddle do you want to get smacked with? Or like, can we have no paddle, please? Can I sit down in a nice soft chair and have a fun time? Like, no, you're getting the paddle. Pick. Give you both if you want. You're like, oh Jesus. Maybe saying paddle wasn't the right move here, given the name of the patch, but you know.